All right, so in this video, I want to talk about how to actually sell high ticket without needing sales calls. What do you need and how do you know that you're ready? So I have a book called No Sales Calls. And because of that, for obvious reasons, a lot of people reach out to me asking how they sell their high ticket programs or high ticket offers without calls, because that's the whole premise of the book. And they think that there's these magical scripts or email and social post templates or a magical Google Doc template that's going to just get people to buy their stuff just because of like some crazy copywriting. And that's just not how it works. So there's actually two things that you need if you want to sell high ticket without calls. And if you don't have these two things, then you should not even be thinking about selling without calls. You will have probably a hard time selling anything at all if you don't have these two things. So let alone without sales calls. So let's talk about what these two things are and why they're so important. So the first one is something I learned from an awesome marketer named Nick Kosman, and he calls it status delta. And so status delta is the difference in authority and status between you and your prospect. If the prospect doesn't feel like you have what they want, if they don't feel like you have a higher status or authority to them, then they're not going to buy. Like, why would they buy if you don't have something they want? So for example, if I am trying to lose weight or if I'm trying to get really muscular and shredded, am I going to go and pay somebody else who is way more muscular and shredded than I am? Or am I going to pay a 400-pound fatty? It's an obvious answer, right? So it might seem obvious, but a lot of people, they're the fat guy trying to sell six-pack abs to people who want to get six-pack abs. So the first thing is status delta. You need status delta. You need evidence or proof that whatever you're claiming is true. That's the strongest form of status delta. Some other forms of status delta could be things like material possessions. It depends on your industry, right? So if you're selling something money related, then you need to show that you have money or you've made money in whatever you're teaching. If you're selling something fitness related, well, you better be in shape. That's the status delta for fitness. If you're trying to sell something like a healthy lifestyle or a certain type of diet, then you need to be showing status delta in terms of like the certain foods that you eat. So status delta will be different depending on your industry, but you just want to think in terms of, do you have something that the person that you're selling to wants to have? And can you prove that? Okay, so that's number one. The second thing is KLT. And KLT means know, like, and trust. So if someone doesn't know, like, and trust you, they're not going to buy right away because they don't know you and they don't trust you and they can't like you if they don't know you or trust you. So how do you build that up? How do you build up KLT? Well, there's three main factors. Number one is frequency. The more someone sees you, the more that they build up that KLT. So if you think about your parents or your family or your friends and your siblings, you see them a lot. You see them frequently. Because of that, you build up that KLT. And if they ever did recommend some kind of product or service to you, then you wouldn't really think too hard about it because it was recommended by someone who they know, like, and trust, or who you know, like, and trust. Now, the second way that you build that up is through utility or usefulness. So we know, like, and trust people who are useful to us, right? If someone's just always taking and not providing any value to our life, then we're not going to like them. So being useful, utility. And the third thing is entertainment. So we like to be around people who are entertaining, who make us laugh, who are a good time, who make us feel good. And so entertainment is another piece of that. And this is why I love content. This is why I've been posting content and sending emails every day since January of 2020, because it builds up that KLT. Okay, so you want to have one or both of these things. So you want to have status delta and or KLT. Ideally, you have both. And that's what's going to help you. That's a secret to selling without the phone. If you don't have status delta or KLT, then you're going to have a really difficult time. You're going to difficult time selling anything, not just without the phone. So if you want to sell without the phone, especially high ticket, you need to have that status delta and KLT built up. And so to do that, well, you got to go and get a result that people want. And you need to document that case study and help other people get that same result. And then start talking about it and sharing that in your content consistently. And that is how you build up both your status delta and your KLT. So once you have your case studies and you have something that other people want that actually helps people and you can prove it, that is when I can come in and help you. If you want to get my No Sales Calls book though, and you want to see this process and how it works, you can go to nosalescalls.com. I'll also link to it below. You can opt in, you'll get the book for free, and that walks over the process on how to sell without the phone. But I wanted to shoot this video because people think that they can just come in and start selling really expensive things without those two things, without the status delta and without KLT. And I'm just telling you right now, it's going to be really tough if you try to do that, if you try to sell anything without those two. So I hope this was useful. Give it a like if it was. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video.